Good morning, everyone, from Roseann and from me, and welcome to the Women in Business Voices of Leadership virtual conference, sponsored by Intertrade Ireland, broadcasting today live from the Mac Theatre in Belfast. It is so nice to be out. We are delighted to have so many of you joining us online today, so wherever you are, you're very welcome. And although you're not physically here with us in the Mac, we would love for you to participate in all of the chat that you see on your screen. So please tell us who you are and where you're watching from this morning, and we'll definitely give you a shout out. We've got some incredible speakers taking part in today's conference. They include Sharon Thorne, who's the Global Chair of Deloitte, Nora Casey, award-winning businesswoman and broadcaster. We've got Elaine Birchall waiting in the wings, CEO of SHS Group, and Sarah Venning, who's the CEO of NI Water. We're also delighted to have a talk today from Elise Nelson. She's the CEO and President of the Vital Voices Global Partnership. A real treat to come there. So these women are today our voices of leadership, and many of you are probably watching another screen right now, keeping an eye across the pond to see what's happening in the leadership race there. We know how important and vital good, authentic leadership is right now. So let's take a little look at our chat screen this morning, Roseann, and see who's watching us. Oh my goodness, there, one just jumped out at me straight away. There's Aoife watching from sunny Port Stewart. Oh, look at that, how many people are already tuned in. Michelle Baird, hi Michelle, morning from the Ulster Orchestra, sitting at home in Bangor. Andrea Burns is joining us from Newry, good morning. We've got Carol from Young Enterprise. Morning all. Great lineup, sure is, and we'll be hearing from them very shortly. So many there. Lynn Crowther is joining us from Drumbo. Who else have we got? Esther Skelly-Smith, good morning from Shanahan Veterinary Services in Catesbridge. Good morning, and hope all the animals are well there this morning. Maureen McGee, a big hello from Derry. Hello to everybody there too. Thembi Lecky says good morning. From Ballymena, Colette Stewart is joining us from Oris NI. Oh my goodness, there's so many people. Karen there from Hollywood. Tierna King, Tierna and Hannah are joining together from Belfast. And there's somebody from Cork and Dublin. Alison McMurtry, you're joining us from Malahide today. So lovely. We'll check in with you all later, but you know obviously how to chat. I can see that, and the chat is working on the screen, so that is fantastic. We also, you'll notice, have the question and answer button on your screen. This will let you all submit questions to the speakers, and we're going to aim to answer as many questions as we can today. But I think there were over 1,000 registered, which is really, really incredible, and many more than we could probably have had right here in the Mac. So joining me throughout the conference today is my fabulous co-host, who needs no introduction to any of you out there in Women in Business, Roseann Kelly, the Chief Executive. And Roseann, we're delighted you're here today.
Thank you, Sarah, and I am really delighted to have you here beside me today, this morning for sure. Good morning, everyone with us online. I am so happy to see so many of you joining us today, and I'm really excited to hear from our speakers, but also to see all of your thoughts and your comments in the chat and your questions for our speakers.
Yes, well, before Roseann tells you a little bit more about the background of today's event and why we're having it, I'm going to take this opportunity to tell you a little bit more about Women in Business, because Roseann is too modest to do so. I'm actually a member myself. My company, Bespoke Communications, we joined straight away when we set up our own company, and we greatly value this membership, I think, especially during the current time and the pandemic. The beauty of it is it's a business network, and we have never needed to feel more connected than we do now. And with over 4,500 members, Women in Business can introduce you to that network. And it will basically deliver for you and be a voice for businesswomen across Northern Ireland. The organisation actually supports women to start, so if you've got an idea out there to start your own business and indeed grow your business, or maybe you want to develop your career, you want to push yourself further. How do you do it? You want to rise into senior manager and leadership positions, and we'll be delving a lot into those subjects today. Women in Business offers all women the opportunity to grow their career through a wide range of programmes and facilitated online personal and professional development webinars and networking events. So it really is a vital resource right there for you. It has a diverse membership spread through all industry sectors. So we've got women from all levels there, young women starting their careers, business startups, sole traders and employers, right through to large corporate organisations, the key decision makers. We've got the third sector in there and the public sector. They're also here for teachers, nurses, doctors, dentists, physios, vets, as we saw there, all women who need supported to reach their full potential and achieve their ambitions. And I know that I'm preaching to the converted, and many of you are today members already, but if you aren't, I really would encourage you to join. Is that okay, Roseann?
Yes, thank you very much for that great endorsement, Sarah. And Sarah actually delivers one of our programmes, the Powerful Resilience Programme, and the feedback on that has been consistently fantastic. So there you go, there's two women already supporting each other today. I am delighted to welcome you to our Voices of Leadership conference. This time last year, we booked today, the 5th of November, for our annual Gala Awards dinner that normally hosts over 500 businesswomen and men, a real celebration of brilliant businesswomen. However, due to COVID-19, we obviously had to cancel. Disappointing, yes. But here we are this morning, and because we are online, I am delighted to welcome over 1,000 business people to our conference. A silver lining, yes, and made even better by the level of our conversation today. All of our speakers are global leaders. The importance of our conversation today: leadership is key to all of our success. And the timing of our conversation today as we face a global pandemic and Brexit. The Voices of Leadership conference will emphasise the need for great leadership, authentic leadership, compassionate leadership and diverse leadership. This is crucial for you, for our government, for our employers, for our economy and ultimately for our society. So I'm glad you are all online with us today as we have a lot for you to hear. Great leaders are people who step forward on a journey with a great vision, with a key mission, with strong values and passion. They don't get lost on the way. Power does not corrupt and ego does not destroy. And great leaders come in all shapes and sizes. If we really want to build back better, as Boris says, we need to build back diverse. And although the case for diversity has been repeatedly made loud and clear, all the evidence of improved bottom lines, improved share prices, improved decision making, the list goes on and on. Yet despite this, we still do not have genuine buy-in. So we need to, and we will keep our voices of leadership loud and clear. Today, we start to build back diverse. But you never do great things on your own. You don't get to the moon on your own. You don't get to the top of Everest on your own. So another key quality of leadership is the ability to bring people with you on your journey. The ability to collaborate is so important. We will not beat COVID-19 without it. So in practicing what I preach, I am delighted to have had the support and collaboration of 9 great organisations for today, both in the Republic of Ireland and Northern Ireland. We have had the support of the CBI, Network Ireland, the Federation of Small Businesses, Lean in Ireland, Women's Inspire Network, Planet Women, Evolve, Women in Enterprise, Mums at Work Network. This support has been great, so thank you to each of you for your support. As a charity, we are always need support, and I am always asking. So today is no different. So I would kindly ask that you support the valuable work that we do in supporting women to reach their full potential, and make a donation to Women in Business before 11:30 today. Every person who kindly donates will have the opportunity to win a case of Monet champagne. So another silver lining. If you look down on the webpage, you will see the donate button, and if you click on this, this will allow you to make a donation to Women in Business.
How nice. Yes, a case of Moët champagne sounds great. So do make that donation because I think a lot of people forget that Women in Business is a charity and we really need you. And thank you for everything that you do for women in business in Northern Ireland, Roseann. Well, as Roseann said, today's conference would not have been possible without the support of our key sponsor and partner, Intertrade Ireland. They are another organisation all about collaboration throughout the island of Ireland. So let's now hear from Margaret Harty, Director of Business Services from Intertrade Ireland.
Good morning, my name is Margaret Harty, and on behalf of Intertrade Ireland, can I just say how delighted I am that we are supporting and sponsoring the Women in Business Voices of Leadership Conference. We have an amazing lineup of speakers to listen to today, both from an international and across the island, which is absolutely fantastic. And I particularly welcome the involvement of the various women in business networks from right across the island. Intertrade Ireland, as a cross-border organisation, we strive to promote and support cross-border collaboration to facilitate sharing of ideas and best practice. And it's exactly what initiatives like this do. They seed the relationships and the ideas that strengthen the organisations that we work in, but ourselves importantly as well. I think today's conference couldn't have come at a better time. The conference brochure, we talk about the role that female leaders have played against the fight for COVID. And really, these are qualities like strength and flexibility and resilience, but also empathy and compassion that we use as female leaders on a daily basis, both in our organisations and in our homes. And I really believe it's qualities like this that will get our organisations through the difficult times that we have ahead. But back to today, I can't wait. I'm certainly so looking forward to listening to our amazing lineup of speakers. I really wish you have a successful, enjoyable and enriching conference, and enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.
A great welcome message there from Margaret. Thank you so much to Margaret and to Intertrade Ireland for sponsoring today's conference. Okay, so it's now time to hear from our first speaker. Sharon Thorne is the chair of the Deloitte Global Board of Directors and the first female chair of the Deloitte Global Board of Directors. Now, prior to leading the board, Sharon was the Deputy CEO and Managing Partner for Global and Strategy of Deloitte Northwest Europe and a member of the Deloitte Global Board of Directors. She has long been a champion of Deloitte's ambition to achieve higher representation of women in leadership globally and is an advocate for collective action on climate change and environmental sustainability. Sharon graduated from Oxford University with a degree in philosophy, economics and politics, and she is a fellow of the Institute of Chartered Accountants in England and Wales. She lives in the UK with her husband John and their 2 dogs. She has 3 grown-up stepdaughters and she enjoys watching Manchester United and playing golf, though maybe not last night. Sharon is a close friend of Elaine Birchall, who is the CEO of SHS Group and who will be joining us on the stage later. But Elaine earlier had a virtual fireside chat with Sharon last week, and they discussed Sharon's journey to success, the lessons that she learnt in leadership, and her views on the current state of female leadership on a global stage.
So, good morning. I'm Elaine Birchall.
Hello, I'm Sharon Thorne.
So, Sharon, I'd love to welcome you to Northern Ireland, albeit virtually. And I know that your story will appeal to many of our audience today. For the audience, I met Sharon over a decade ago when I moved to Manchester. And we were both undergoing a lot of personal and professional change at the time. And for me, Sharon exemplifies authentic leadership in that being who you are, underpinned by getting to know who you are and valuing who you are, is a journey that she has wholeheartedly undertaken. And I'm sure that you'll agree, successfully. So in order to get to know you, Sharon, can you tell us about your journey, just an abbreviated version of where you started and how you've managed to get to where you are today?
Okay, well, it's lovely to have the opportunity to join you all. I'm sorry that we can't be there in person. And it has been fabulous getting to know Elaine, I have to tell you. However, just coming back to me, I suppose my early years were characterised by the fact that I moved around a lot because my dad was an apprentice in the Navy, my mum was a hairdresser. And as a result of that, I went to 6 primary schools and 3 secondary schools. And I was also the first person in our family to go to university. Now, I suppose that actually, whilst it had its challenges, provided me with some great life skills, because you have to learn to fit in and adapt quickly when you're constantly moving. I developed strong interpersonal skills and also an antenna for reading people. Something that was always very important to me was fairness and equality, and it's become my personal mission to champion Deloitte's commitment to create an inclusive workplace for all, with a special focus on women in leadership. And last year, I became the first female global chair at Deloitte, and I think that sends a really strong signal about the type of organisation that Deloitte is. Now, on my journey to that role, I had several firsts in my career. So in 2004, I was the first of 2 women who were elected to our UK board. In 2006, I was the first female to join our UK executive. I became our talent partner for 2 years. Then I was the first female to run a very significant part of our business outside London, our audit practice, and then the first female to run the whole of our business outside London. But being the first has, it does come with its challenges. And so, when I was the only woman on the UK executive, it could be hard at times to be heard and to be taken seriously, given, I suppose, that everyone else was a much more experienced, older white male. However, having firsts is how we make change happen. And there is an element of luck, I think, that I can see playing out in my career. If I look at the opportunities that I've had, if I think about the people that I've met who've given me opportunities, and some of those meetings, can be accidental, but it's also down to, I suppose, creating networks. But it isn't just down to luck. And for those of you who follow golf may remember Gary Player, who was a fantastic golfer, but one of his regular sayings was, the harder I work, the luckier I get. Now, it hasn't all been plain sailing. I have had a number of disappointments, and I think we'll be coming to that a bit later, Elaine, so I won't cover that now.
Well, thank you, Sharon, and I do know how hard you work, but as you say, it's an element of luck and important people in your life. So you've mentioned networks and relationships, and perhaps you can tell us about who's inspired you on your journey along the way.
So, it's interesting to reflect on that, because when I was growing up, given I am now 56, there were not many female role models in public life, but 2 that stood out for me were Margaret Thatcher and Madonna, and obviously they're very different, but they both achieved incredible things, and they were trailblazers for women. Now, over the years, I've been privileged to meet and work with many amazing women and men, and they've provided lots of inspiration, great counsel, and importantly, sponsorship. And you'll remember, Elaine, that I set up a women's network in Manchester many years ago. And we had a lot of fantastic women join us and share their stories with such authenticity, including you. And it was such an inspiring group to be part of. And we got great feedback on how it is encouraging women to strive to achieve more. But you're never too old to learn and to be inspired. And I think we have more access to people through social media than ever before. And there are more women than ever who have achieved great things. And so they're inspiring us, but also, your daughters can look to them for inspiration. And just a few examples in public life, we've got Jacinda Ardern, Michelle Obama, and of course, Arlene Foster. Lots of amazing sportswomen. In football, you see Lucy Bronze, Megan Rapinoe. In hockey, the captain of the GB gold-winning Olympic team is Kate Richardson-Walsh, who's a good friend of mine. And in boxing, of course, we've got Katie Taylor, who's an amazing example. And in business, an increasing number of CEOs in the UK. We've got Carolyn McCall at ITV, Emma Walmsley at GSK. Some great examples in Northern Ireland, including you, Elaine, Angela McGowan of the CBI, and Jackie Henry, who's the only female leader of the Big Four in Northern Ireland. And I've just been reading Caitlin Moran's book, More Than a Woman, and she's another inspiration. And it's got some fabulous insights in it, but my favourite is that you marry your glass ceiling. And it's just a thought I want to leave you all with, and think about your friends and your daughters, and thinking about encouraging to marry the right person, because if they're not the right person, they can act as your glass ceiling.
I think we've reflected on this, on how many more female role models there are in this era that we're very grateful for. Roseann is setting up an ambassadors program here in Northern Ireland so we can actually network into that younger generation who need that inspiration and support. I wonder now, if you look back at your younger self, what you might tell yourself in terms of retrospectively about what you would have done differently or you've learned that would have helped along the way.
I suppose I do a number of talks, and I reference three key things, I suppose, that I would use to give people insights and things to think about. And the first one is knowing what you want. So, identify your passion, your strengths, what you really want to do, and focus on them. I think life is just too short to waste energy on things that you don't believe in or enjoy. And you're much more likely to do well if you believe in what you're doing. And you have to have a vision of what you want out of life, your career and personal life, and put steps in place to achieve your ambitions. And they can be small steps to begin with. It's a journey, but it's taking you in a certain direction. And the other thing is to think about the journey at work. I think we get too hidebound by the idea that we're going up a ladder, and if we're not going up, that it's a problem. And we refer to a corporate lattice now because you can, you might be going up, down, across, etc. And you may choose to take time out or to pause, but you can still have a fantastic leadership career. And it's opening up possibilities to yourself. It's also think about the fact that everyone's idea of success is different. We don't all want the same thing, thank goodness, but just, be very proud about what it is that you want. And also, it doesn't all have to be work related. The most important thing is that you're fulfilled and have a sense of purpose. And then the second area I talk about is don't be a barrier. One of the biggest barriers can be ourselves, and I do think it's especially true for women. And this is, I'm going to generalize and I apologize, but if you show a male and female of the same ability, a job description, the female will look at it and say, oh my gosh, I can't do this, I can't do this, I can't possibly put myself forward. And the male will say, oh, I could have been doing this yesterday, I'm just amazing. This is people of the same ability. And then the second area that I encourage women to think about is something that Sheryl Sandberg talked about in her book Lean In, which is tiara syndrome. And it's, again, I think this is more prevalent among women, that we're incredibly hardworking, we're committed, we keep our heads down, we do an amazing job, and we're waiting for someone to come along and put a tiara on our heads. But, managers are incredibly busy, and they're focused on the people who are making a fuss and saying, when am I going to get this development? When are you going to promote me? When am I going to get paid more? And they think you're happy because you've got your head down and you're working hard. So you need to make sure you put your hand up and ask for opportunities, and that you prod, the people who are overseeing you. And a sort of related thing is to be careful. Beware of imposter syndrome. 2/3 of women, including me, feel inadequate, that we don't belong, that everyone around us is better, that someone's going to tap us on the shoulder. It can be very debilitating, but the more we talk about it and recognize it, the easier it is to overcome. And then the third area is ensuring you have the right support structures, both at work and at home. And I think it's really important that you look after your health, mental and physical, and it's a key part of that, ensuring that it's that, don't marry a glass ceiling kind of thing. Make sure it's someone who's going to help you thrive, that you've got appropriate support at work for the job you're doing, and making sure that you spend time with friends and family, investing in relationships and seeking support when you need it. And as part of that, you could have, a coach and mentor that could be formal or informal. But I've had some amazing input from external coaches over the years who've just challenged me and made sure that I'm prioritizing appropriately. A good example, I went to Buenos Aires for work. I flew in, flew out, and my coach said to me, did you take any time to see the sights? It's one of the most beautiful cities in the world. And I was like, no, I was really busy. I had to do all these interviews. I had to get back. I was da, da, da. And he said, you may never go to Buenos Aires again. And it's true, I haven't been. And then, you can take time. You just have to plan, I suppose, things better and recognize it. And then find a sponsor. As we develop by being given amazing experience and challenges. And so if you don't get that experience and challenges, you can't develop to be able to take on the next role. And I've been very fortunate to have had a number of great sponsors throughout my career. And then the final point is make sure you enjoy the journey. It's not just about the end destination, and that you try and have fun along the way.
And I know you do. So Sharon, I think that's fantastic wisdom that we can all learn from, no matter what stage of our life or career. And I really think about in this new era of technology, there's no excuse not to find a sponsor. There's no excuse not to find a way to network into somebody who you can just ask a simple question of advice from. So in some ways it's challenging, particularly for the younger generation, not to have visible role models, but equally, if you ask, I'm sure there's many people out there that would help just to get you to the next stage of what your vision is or what you want or the confidence that you might need. On I suppose more of the challenging side, it's not all plain sailing and it's not all fun. Are you willing to share some of the obstacles you've had to overcome, challenges or your personal fears along the way?
Yes. No, Elaine, and I've got two very different examples to share. So one is at work. So in 2014, I put myself forward to trying to become the Deloitte UK chair. I thought I was very well qualified. I had a lot of support from among the partners, and I really believed I could make a difference, that I would be the first female chair in the UK. So when I didn't get it, it was a huge knock to my confidence, and I really felt I'd hit a glass ceiling. I doubted myself. I had lots of people getting in touch with me saying, you did so well, you got into the last two, you've got so much potential. But I was devastated. I was really devastated and really thought seriously about whether I should carry on at Deloitte. But it led to my next role. I was given another role on our executive team, which was Managing Partner Global and Strategy, which wasn't really clear what that was, but it turned out to be an amazing opportunity because I ended up playing a key role in globalizing Deloitte. It was a really complex project. It involved a lot of stakeholder management. It was very high profile, and doing, I suppose, a good job in that role led to people in global leadership and the global board considering me to become the global chair. And so when I did have that opportunity and got it, I mean, you can imagine what that meant to me, sort of looking back. And I had, lots of people write to me and say, congratulations. And one that sticks out was a South African female partner who said, I've had to put my brave pants on to get in touch with you and congratulate you. And I was thinking, why on earth would you need brave pants? I'm a perfectly normal, human, imperfect person. And she made the point to me about how important it would be for other people to hear about the challenges that I faced and had overcome as part of my journey, which is why I'm very happy to talk about it. And then outside work, an example, 2013, I did stand-up comedy for charity, which I have to say, Elaine, you were crazy enough to do with me, and I'm incredibly grateful because your support enabled us to raise even more money. But it's one of the most challenging things I've ever done. And the actual night in the Comedy Store in front of 500 people was bad enough, but it actually wasn't the worst bit. It was the warm-up. So they insisted that we did 3 warm-up gigs ahead of the actual night. So, one horrible rainy evening, I found myself in the Frog and Bucket, a pub in Preston, getting ready to do my first ever comedy slot. And looking around the audience, I felt completely out of place. I'd come straight from work. I was in a dress with heels. I felt old. They were a lively crowd and they were all dressed down. I was as white as a sheet, felt incredibly sick, and it's the closest I've ever come to giving up on something. But I forced myself because it was for charity. And I didn't want to let everyone else down, including you, Elaine. And it was just such a relief when they laughed at my jokes. And I did almost enjoy it. But, we raised over 130,000 for cancer charities, which was fantastic. And I suppose what it taught me is how good it is to push your boundaries. And it's something we've talked about, Elaine, what's the worst thing that could possibly happen? And as you overcome these fears and push boundaries, it gives you confidence to do it again and again. And then, who knows where you'll get to.
I want you all to know that Sharon also made me jump out of a plane at 14,000 feet for charity. which I actually found way more terrifying for two reasons. One, my fear of heights, and the second was the fear of my mother, because my son was only 3 and she was not happy with me. But I do remember the negotiations about doing those things, and rather than focus on the things that I couldn't do, like swim the channel because I can't swim, or run with the bulls in Pamplona because I'm really unfit, as you told me, it was really just understanding that fear is something in your head, and only you can push your boundaries, and only you can actually take care of that fear. And once you do that, you know, it was easier to say yes to the stand-up comedy than it was to jumping out of a plane, because I'd overcome certain fears thanks to you. So can I ask you, Sharon, do you have any regrets? Big question.
So honestly, no regrets, but lots of lessons. I am massively self-critical, so I can always think of things I can improve. But as to making different decisions, you know, if I had, I wouldn't be in the role I'm in, and I wouldn't be married to husband number 3, John, who does make me incredibly happy.
And I do know parts of the answer to this, but we've talked a lot about your work and your career and the challenges professionally, but what other aspects of your life are as important as your job and what you do?
So, you know, as I look back, I can see that at times I have prioritized my career over, you know, everything else. And I have got a lot of purpose and satisfaction from that. You know, it comes back to my earlier comments about working out what it is that you want, what you're passionate about, and trying to achieve it. And I do love work. I get a lot of purpose and satisfaction from it. And I love the opportunity, I suppose, to do my best and to provide a path for others to follow and to help them to do so. However, you know, I have realized over the past few years that the most important thing to me is my husband, family, and good friends. And my husband, John, came very close to dying from sepsis in April 2018. And it completely focuses your mind on what really matters. You know, and as parents and friends and me get older, you also realize that you have to spend more time with them while you can. And I think COVID is also providing another opportunity for us all to reflect. You know, I recognize that the global travel schedule that I had was just not sustainable. And if I was still doing that, I think I'd probably be off ill, because it was ridiculous and not good for my health. And then things that are good for my health, great example, I've got 2 dogs, golden doodles, Freddie and Georgie. I love walking them. They give me unconditional love, lots of licks, so they're great for my mental well-being. I have a love-hate relationship with golf, the gym, and also Manchester United, although beating Leipzig 5-0 the other night was pretty amazing given where we've been recently. So yes, I am still working very hard, Elaine, but I am now making more time for me.
And given those self-reflections and personal influences, does that change how you turn up at work in terms of your leadership style? Have you modified that, or it's just you are who you are and it's your authentic self? Has that changed in the journey over time, do you think?
So it's a really interesting way of posing that. And I think, you know, I look back and my leadership's, I suppose it has changed, the style has changed as the type of role I've been doing has changed and the complexity of roles. So, you know, I think back to the early years where I was very hands-on in an early, you know, client service, operational roles. It's very much in the trenches with teams and with clients. You know, as you become more senior, you're leading leaders, providing more of a vision, inspiring, persuading. And in the most recent roles, it's been much more about, you know, collaboration, complex stakeholder management, building trust. But I suppose consistent throughout of that is that, you know, you referred to authentic leadership, and that my core values and who I am have remained the same. And I've been really clear on what they are and what's important to me. So, for example, integrity, respect and inclusion, equity and fairness, humility, courage, doing the right thing, just something that runs through me And it's something I'm very open about with my teams about. That's important, and they're my expectations of them. And then the other really critical change, I think, has been that I've become a lot more open about my vulnerabilities and imperfections. And I talk really openly about the challenges I have with imposter syndrome. I found it very hard to talk about such things earlier, partly because no one else around me was, and I didn't want to appear weak, especially in a really male-dominated world. However, since I have started opening up about it and talking about it, I've seen the enormous impact and relief that it has for others when they realize how prevalent it is and that you don't have to be perfect to get to the top. You know, there's a view that leaders are all powerful, confident, know all the answers. And of course they aren't and don't. And if they think they are, then they're probably not the right leaders who are going to achieve success in the incredibly complex world that we now find ourselves in.
Thank you. And I guess if we go back to where we started about the dearth of female role models, and in the year that we've all survived so far in a global pandemic, not talking about you right now, but your views on kind of the female leadership on a global stage and what you've seen and what you've admired.
So it's a great question, Elaine, and there currently aren't enough women leaders on the global stage. You know, if we think about, we have made real progress, and I talked about a lot of role models, but although that we've got, I think, a third of boards in the UK in the FTSE 350 are women, there are still 119 companies, less than 30%. And if we look at executive teams, you know, it's down at 20%, and very few of those roles are operational roles that will enable women to succeed in the future. You know, the business case for women in leadership has been really well articulated, but I think COVID is in danger of setting us back because it's exacerbating existing inequalities and injustices, and we're really worried about the disproportionate impact on women and girls. And we've just issued a report that said 82% of women surveyed said their lives have been negatively disrupted by the pandemic, and nearly 70% of those who have experienced these disruptions are concerned about their career progression, which is, you know, something that employers have to address. However, we do have some amazing female leaders like Jacinda Ardern on the global stage. And there was a recent Forbes article that tried to, I suppose, set out what it was about female leaders that made them better geared for the global pandemic. And, you know, they showed that countries with female leaders had a lower number of positive COVID-19 cases and a lower number of related deaths. And they referred to 4 elements of the way women make decisions. They said they act earlier and more decisively, that they consistently take a broader view beyond economic results to consider the wider impact on society. The third area is, they said, they have a lower threshold for ambiguity. So they tend to make decisions to minimize uncertainty. And women are particularly good where there are thousands of possible solutions. And then the fourth area, they talked about their communications approach and their willingness to, I suppose, vary it for different groups, and talked about how Ardern hosted sessions specifically for children, which was helping to drive a stronger sense of accountability and agency. And then, you know, that relative success of female-led governance has also been linked to better diversity in national cabinets generally and more inclusive societies. And it's not necessarily the brilliance of individual leaders, although, of course, given the barriers that women face, women do have to be brilliant to get to the top.
Lots of food for thought there, and I think lots of challenges and lots of insights, and hopefully we'll all do a little bit more homework and realise you know, how many great things that have happened in this challenging year through great female leadership. So Sharon, I think our time is up, unfortunately. Thank you so much for sharing your valuable time, your insights and your vulnerabilities. And we wish you very well. Thanks from all.
Thank you, Elaine. It's been great to be with you.
Roseann and I were just full of the joys there after listening to Sharon, Thorne and to Elaine. We were discussing just some of the of what it takes really to be a leader at that level, like Sharon. And we were talking a bit about how fear holds so many of us back. And Sharon alluded to that too, that, you know, really fear is in your head and you can't be a barrier to yourself. And when you're doing live things like this, Roseann, you know, you can feel the fear as well, let me tell you.